Yo, 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 welcome to Crate 808, and today we have a very special guest on board. It's the man who's written on a variety of subjects, from imagining what it would be like if Michael Myers from Halloween gave a press conference, to how DMX might act on Valentine's Day, to numerous jokes about J. Cole, all the way to doing deep dives about Bolo Young's character in Bloodsport. It's the guy who, when he hears Slick Rick, is reminded of stealing a fake $100 bill from a man named Orlando. Yes, say hello to the person whose children liken him to the old guy in a wheelchair in Big Trouble in Little China. Staff writer at The Ringer, podcaster and author of four New York Times bestsellers. South Texas motherfucker, that's where he stay. We got Shea Serrano in the house. How are you doing, man?
What's going on, homie? That was quite an introduction.
This is bucket list for me. So you're going to get stand. I'm just telling you right now.
I'm with it. You said a lot of things. You know what's funny is I made like a joke about J. Cole 5 years ago, and nobody let me forget it. They're like, "Remember the joke you said about J. Cole or whatever?" Like, I haven't said anything about J. Cole in years, literal years, and it's still like a thing.
Oh man! Well, you're gonna have to wear the tag, man, because that's how we know you. I'm sorry,
that's what the internet does.
That's what the internet does, exactly. Yo, 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 quick reminder, if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you'll be kept up to date with all that we're doing. And also, man, get involved in the YouTube comments. Man, we love hearing from you fellow hip-hop heads. We love nerding out. So bring those takes and just bring that flavour, man, and we might even shout you out on the show. So yes, appreciate all the support. Now, back to the episode. Today, we're going to talk about numerous things. It's a 90s hip-hop podcast, so we'll go into that. We'll go into your work, which has been astounding. Congrats on just all the success.
Thank you.
But we're all going to talk about UGK as well. Ridin Dirty. You want to talk about its album. You brought it to the plate. But before we get into any of that, Shay, I've got to ask you, what is the least hip-hop thing you've done in the last 24 hours?
I'm on a low sodium diet.
Right.
And so you would assume that would be like first place thing. That's like not a very hip hop thing. You should just eat whatever you want. Yeah. However, Young Jeezy has this famous line where he says, "I'm standing at the podium trying to watch my sodium." So he was already doing it. So that's the most hip hop thing I've done the last 24 hours is eating a low sodium diet. The least, I don't know. All of the answers that you feel like you want to give, there's a hip hop line for it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I would say, "Oh, well, I got up really early this morning because I had a lot of work to do." Well, Pimp C has I'm up early because ain't enough light in the daytime. Like, there's a line for everything. So I'm not certain what the least hip. Oh, are there any songs about the TV show Survivor? Because I watched a little bit of an episode of Survivor during my lunch break.
Right. I'll take that.
I can't think of it. But again, Akon and Young Jeezy have Soul Survivor, so that's off the table too. Fuck, I'm stuck.
Oh man, you're done. You're too hip hop, Shay. That's what it is. You're too hip hop. Just
have you ever had like a proper rapper on the show before?
I have, yes, I have. Yeah, a few. Black Thought was a good one. We had Black Thought on, that was good. And I'm looking forward to.
Well, see, I was going to say I'm on the show, but I can't even say that.
There we go. Awful. No, can't do it. I'm sorry. But it's all good. I like it.
That is so good. What a great guy he is. Just the best.
I love it. It's the same answer that Corrupt gave. So I suppose that's all good. Corrupt was like, "I'm always hip hop. Hip hop's just everything." So you and Corrupt on that level. I like it. I like it.
A lot of people say that. A lot of people compare me to Corrupt.
Of course. But man, so we're going to go in Ridin Dirty, 96. I'm glad you brought this, man. But I want to know from you, why was it this album that you were like, yeah, that's the one I'm gonna talk about. I want to talk about today.
Well, you sort of access albums at different points in your life, right? And when this one showed up in my life, I was early into my teenage years. I hadn't really done a bunch of living yet, right? That wasn't like a thing so the very first time I heard it, I was like, I mean, this is cool or whatever, but it wasn't something that grabbed a hold of me because I didn't understand the stuff that they were talking about. I had never had anybody very close to me who had like passed away, for example. And that's a big theme on the album, especially in the song one. Like a bunch of the stuff that they were talking about in there, I had not yet experienced in my life. So this is one of those ones where I listened to it when I was a kid because that's what you were listening to. That's what kids had. My buddy Miguel is the one who passed me this tape. And then I played it and then I kept it moving. And then I was like, oh yeah, Harlem World or whatever. Like this feels, you know what I'm saying? Like Puff Daddy, Shiny Suit, whatever. Like I was going through that route. And then when I got older, I revisited the album. And then by that point, a bunch of the stuff that they talk about, or a version of it anyway, had happened to me. And then I was like, oh fuck. It just felt different. Like there's like a movie that you watched too early and you were like, is this good?
Yeah.
Why? I want to watch the Ninja Turtles and Vanilla Ice, that movie.
Yeah.
Why are you making me watch Michael Clayton or whatever? And then you get older and you watch that one and you're like, oh shit, obviously.
Yeah.
So when you asked about what album I wanted to talk about, this is one of my 5 favorite albums ever. 4 of the other 4 that are in that list were albums that the very first time I heard it, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is the one that was on there that was like a time delayed fuse it had on it inside of my brain and in my chest.
Oh, I love that. So can you pinpoint a moment when this became one of your favorites? Like when this album was like, oh yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was around like 2009-ish is when it happened. Because in 2008 is when my grandmother who raised me passed away. And it happened quick. It was like one day she was fine and then I got a phone call and they said, hey, grandma has cancer and you need to come home. And I went home and we were like all sitting around trying to like wait for the doctors to say this or say that. And I remember she was trying to make it like not that big of a deal. She'd be like, oh, I went for my checkup and they said this or that. And I remember she used the word metastasized. And metastasized. And I had never heard that word before. And we didn't have the internet at our house. So I think I went to like the library and I looked up what the word meant. We might have had it by that point. I don't quite remember. But I remember sitting at a computer, typing the word metastasized and then reading what it meant in relation to cancer and be like, well, this is fucking not good. And then 6 months later, she was dead. And so like, that was like a stretch of my life that was just like awful and terrible and bad. And around then I had come across this, I was living in Houston at the time. And this album is like as good as money in Houston. And I came across it again and I was listening to it. And I remember when the song One Day comes on, that's how the album starts. And just hearing like Ronnie Spencer singing, Mr. 3-2 has a verse on there, Bun, Pimp, like whatever, just hearing them, the way that they were talking about life and the end of life. And it was just like, it was very, very overwhelming. And then from that moment forward, it has just been like something that was attached to me.
Yo, yo, yo. Us here at the Crate 808 podcast have finally kicked off our Patreon. So if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a platform where you can go and for a small donation, you can help support us make more hip hop content for you. Go on to patreon.com/Crate 808 and you can check out all the little payment options you've got there. You can check out the 2 new episodes you'll be getting every month, live chats with us guys, just to rap nerd out with you guys. We're going to go into some wide-ranging episodes delving into the work of the Wu-Tang Clan, MF Doom and Jay Dilla. So get it locked if you want that new granular look at hip-hop. So go to our payment tiers on Patreon, big up yourselves. If you choose to support us, thank you so much. I will give you a personalised shout out on the show and we shall catch you in one of these live rooms and let's get this community going. So spread the word. Much love for your time and peace out. Boom. Could you say there's anything from either UGK as a group, as artists, or from this album? What is it in that you can't find in other artists and albums? Because I know you love hip hop encompassing, but what was it about these guys?
Well, part of it is they're from Texas and I'm from Texas.
For sure.
And so a lot of the stuff they were saying, there's like a shorthand when you're talking to somebody who's from where you're from. You don't have to explain a lot of stuff. They just say the thing and then you either catch it or you don't. So there's that part of it. There's like a certain amount of like regional heroicism that's in there. Again, it had been presented to me so early in my life, and then I revisited it later. If you ever had the chance to talk to like Bun B, he's one of the 3 or 4 smartest people I've ever spoken with in my life, not just like in rap, I mean like across everything. There's like a 1,000 little things like that just sort of all line up to equal them being my favorite rap group of all time. Like Pimp C is one of the greatest producers of all time. Bun's one of the greatest rappers of all time. They can do so many different things, and you watch them do this on this album. They're like, we're gonna rap slow, we're gonna rap fast, we're gonna give you this, we're gonna give you like they just like hit every single thing here. Again, so like that's why they're my favorite.
I see, man. Yeah, that's interesting because you're having it from the regional, localized. There, you're kind of, blood kind of thing. You're from that same area. From us, for over here, hearing hip hop generally is otherworldly. Just the language and just the atmospheres that they set and just everything about it. It's beautiful to dive in, but no one. Like I know at that time it was like Outkast obviously was massive, but to hear UGK, I was hearing things I'd never heard, like their use of language and the sheer like concrete hardness of like their lives and just their delivery was like there's one line that always got me, which was like lack driving slab herders was like one line. I don't know what a slab is, I don't know what that means, but it's amazing you can use words that kind of describe something I'm not even sure I know what it is, but I know what it is, if you know what I mean. It's really amazing how they do, and Bun and Pimp C both have that throughout the whole thing. And I just love the use of language. This whole album is just amazing. Just perfect. Car culture. This is one thing that got, so obviously slabs, cars, and then there's another one where he talks about 50 elbows. I was like, what the hell is that? What is an elbow? And growing up and kind of were you into that? Were your friends into it? Were you into that culture at all, the car culture?
We have a version of that. I grew up in San Antonio. And we have a version of that, but it's like lowrider cars. But a lot of this stuff is it's like a saint, like a cousin of it. It's all very, very similar. But it wasn't until I moved to Houston, 2004-ish, 2005-ish, when I like got to see it in person. Like that's a real thing that happens when the cars all get together and they're driving down the street slowly, like making this S pattern, and you see the big rims on there, or just to like see them. Not even as like within that context, but just like parked outside of a Chipotle or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and you see the car with the rims and you're like, that's fucking, I get that. Like, that's cool. But yeah, when I was younger, we were very much into low riders, the cars and the bicycles as well. We could never afford one. But it was like a thing you aspired to. You had like a low rider magazines or whatever that you bring in your backpack to school and all that bullshit.
I love that. What's really interesting about that, and just about hip hop generally as an art, I suppose, I'm always fascinated how your environment can kind of affect your art, if you know what I mean. So I think it was like Grandmaster Flash a while back saying, if we had drum machines, we'd have, if we'd had all these live drums, we'd have played live drums. But our flats and in the projects, you couldn't have live drums. There's people on each side of you. They'd all complain, and and you think, oh, that's why you did what you did. And I was reading up on Bun B, and he was saying like how car culture is like the car wash is massive. Like people would go around a car wash to be a community, a bit like the corner and a bit like barbershops and stuff like that. But car washes, just found that really fascinating. But I just wondered if you were into that. But we have these categories, and basically I would like to know if any of these songs hit these categories for you, right? So we have 5 mic moments. So 5 mic moments is like a moment of sheer perfection, or like, for that artist or in hip hop. Have you any on this album? I know you do. So I was wondering where they are for you in this album.
I have a ton. This entire album is a 5 mics album. I think the opening. So if you don't count the intro as a first song, then that means the first song on there is One Day, which is absolutely perfect. It doesn't get, and it's the most concise, the most accessible, the most profound explanation of how death works that has ever been written, ever. Like, not just in rap, I'm talking like bring in Shakespeare if you want. Nobody's ever talked about death the way that they do on this song. But you go from One Day to Murder to Pinky Ring to Diamonds of Wood to 3 in the Morning. Like it's a 5-song stretch, excuse me.
Yeah.
That I would argue has never been topped across any album. Like every single one of those 5 is absolutely bulletproof. It's perfect. And they all roll into one another, and they all like you literally go from a song about death and One Day into a song about murder, killing. Murder. We go straight from here. Here's the one side of it, and then immediately, oh, but you also have to know about this, and then you jump over to Pinky Ring, which is very braggadocious and like about a certain kind of lifestyle, and Diamonds of Wood. But I think that stretch there, that 5-song stretch, is like a 5 mics moment. You pick any one of those songs, and you can grab other songs that come later on, but that part in particular is just, it's as good as it gets. That you can maybe argue that there's other stuff that's as good. You can't argue that there's anything better than that stretch of songs right there. 5 deep. We're not talking about 3-song stretch.
Yeah,
we're talking about 5 songs. That's so hard.
That's bad. That is bad. And 3 in the Morning afterwards, even that has these moments in it as well. So I'm with you. I absolutely see it. There's moments when, like, I'm listening to it now, and like you said, it hits different now. But I had Pinky Ring on earlier, and I didn't know my little lad was listening. I've got a 4-year-old, and to see a human's body morph into, like, his gait changed. He was like, I was, oh my God, like, you shouldn't even be hearing this for the lyrics, but the way he changed, I was like, there's something almost primordial. There's like something subconsciously amazing about this track. And I love Pinky Ring. And I know a lot of people, and rightly so, praise Murder for, you know, the verses and the way they've tied these lyrics together. But I think on this, well, in the 90s, is there anything as satisfying as hearing Bun B's verse, his second verse on Pinky Ring? It's just so, like, the flow is God level flow. So I have to shout that one out because it's just simply outrageous. I'm not even going to bother trying to repeat what he said, but if anyone would just go listen to Bun B on Pinky Ring, and it's just like, oh my God, you screw face. Yeah, all that, man. Love it.
He's bouncing across the top of it is the thing. Like with Murder, Murder is like a knife fight. And he's just in there just fucking jamming the knife into you over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then when he shows up on Pinky Ring, which is immediately after that, it's not nearly as aggressive. It's way more fun. And it's like, well, you can catch me shopping, checking out the hoes, bopping, chopping. Like he's just like, here's a whole other rhyme pattern that I'm going to do, because you got to remember, this is back in the mid 90s when it was still very much of the thought. People were still of the thought that if you were from the South, you didn't know how to rap. You couldn't rap. You could do other things, but you couldn't really rap. Not like what they were rapping like in New York or whatever, and the fucking like back alleys of the Shaolin Temple. Like they were like, oh, they can't do this down here. And then Bun B shows up, and he just, across this whole tape, with Murder especially, but across the whole tape, he's like, every single thing that you need for a rapper to check off every box, I'm going to do it on here, and I'm going to do it as well as anybody has ever done it. I'm glad you like that verse. It's such a great thing, because it's so much different than all the rest of the stuff on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, there's not many rappers who can tie sentences together as good as Bun B. The way he ties them together are just incredible. But without getting too geeky and analytical about it, do you remember moments where you were having to rep like your Southern tastes in front of like New York people, or were you mainly just surrounded by Southerners anyway? So I don't know if you had to, but have you had to be in a corner and fight?
No, certainly not in the mid 90s. But when I got older, yeah, definitely. Especially as you once you become a rap writer or a critic or whatever, and you're talking about the stuff that you like, it's really like you when you show up and you start saying, hey, this album, Juvenile's 400 Degrees is like as good as whatever you want to pick from New York or LA. UGK's Ridin Dirty is as good as anything you want to pick from over here. Like that becomes like, because there's like supposed to be like a level of rap albums you're not supposed to be able to compare other things to. And it's like, well, you can't say that this is as good as that, because that's not from this place or whatever. But so when I started to get into that point in my career, there was definitely a part. But at the time, UGK was like our version of Jay-Z and Nas and Illmatic and Wu-Tang Clan. Like that's what these guys were.
Yeah. Because you were talking about like murder a minute ago as well. Like it's even the track titles. Like as I said, the use of language, and then coupled with the hardness of it, just murder as a title track. It just there's nothing more. It's just murder. Like murder. Okay, I know what I'm getting. It says it on the tin, but then like even the little things like the vocal stab, like that murder that they sample, the darkness of just one word. It's like I think they've sampled. I don't know where they got it from, but it's like it almost reminds me of reggaeton. Like it's just really subterranean, almost like that one sample. And I was listening to it again today, and I was just like, where this song belongs? It belongs when Frank White just casually goes in a limo to a cop's funeral, right? And just gets a shotgun and does a broad light murder. And if that was playing in the car with Frank at that time, perfect. It's a perfect song for that. So I don't know. There's just something about it. I was like, yeah, this is incredible. But we talked about Bun B, and you've had like we need to talk about Pimp C as well, because sometimes I feel like Bun B gets a bit more like shine, maybe a little bit. I'm not sure if people, I don't know, maybe it's just me and where I'm reading it, but Bun B, for yourself, you said you've had a few encounters with him. He's on the forward of your like book as well. Tell me what he means to you. Like what is Bun to you?
Well, he's obviously somebody who I've creatively looked up to for a long time. I was so excited when I got the chance to talk to him, to find out that he was like all of the things I was hoping he would be. He was just obviously very smart, but you can be smart without being insightful. He was also insightful. He's also like just considerate. And like if I was as talented as Bun B, I promise you would never be able to get a hold of me. Like not ever. I would never answer an email or a text or whatever again. But you can text him right now, and he will hit you back in 4 minutes and be like, "Hey, what's up? How can I help you?" He's like
mad.
That kind of person. I do this show called No Skips with Brandon Jenkins, where we talk about different classic rap albums. And we did an episode on Ridin Dirty. And over the course of the show, I like told a few different stories about Bun B that I had like encountered while I was covering rap in Houston for X amount of years or whatever. But I think the one that like for this particular conversation, the one that sort of identifies exactly the type of person he is I was covering rap in Houston for the Houston Press. So I was going to like every local rap show that I could, didn't matter how big or how small. I was like, I was trying to make myself into the Houston rap guy. That was my goal.
Right.
And so like a Tuesday night at like 11 p.m. or whatever, I would try to find whatever rap show I could go and talk to whoever was there and do, take some pictures and blah, blah, blah. But so I was at like this, like the back room of a bar. It wasn't even attached. I mean, it wasn't like a part of the bar. It was like you walked in the front door of the bar and then out of the back door. And then there was like a garage in the back. It was like that kind of setup. Right. And there was a kid who was performing there, like he was very new to rap. It's like his first ever show or second ever show or some crazy shit like that. But I'd heard about it and people said he was good. So I went to go watch, and I got there and there was like 7 people there, 6, I don't know. There was less than 10 people at this show, and he was up on stage, and I was just there minding my own business, and fucking Bun B walked in not too long after I did. He just has like a bottle of water, and he's standing there and he's watching the kid perform, and he's like bopping his head. And the guy on the stage shouts out Bun, and he waves hello. And then the guy finishes and he hops off stage and they take some pictures together. And I don't know what Bun B tells him, but then he just disappears into the night. He's gone. And then I went to the guy afterward, and I'm like, man, that's crazy. I didn't know you fucking knew Bun B. And he's like, I don't. He just like showed up. He just like heard about the show and he showed up. And Bun, when he got there, it would have been so easy for him to just like take over the room. Because again, there was only 9 people in there, 8 people, 7 people. But he didn't do that. He was like there, and he focused all of his attention up on this guy, and he was like celebrating him, championing this young kid who was at the very start of his career. And then like 2 days later, a day later, Jay-Z was in town at the Toyota Center, which holds 18,000 people or something, totally sold out show.
Right.
And he brings Bun out on stage and they rap together. And then he like disappears off into the night. But Bun B had like the same sort of reverence for this kid up on stage who had barely started his career as he did for Jay-Z, like the same amount of respect, Amazing. The same amount of consideration for the art. It seemed like in both cases, like clearly the kid was excited that Bun was there because he's fucking Bun B. And it makes sense because you've never heard of this kid. But Jay-Z was the same kind of excited that Bun B was there. It wasn't like, I'm Jay-Z, who I brought. It was like, that's Bun B. Am I cool with y'all now, Houston? Like that kind of thing, right? Yeah. But Bun's attitude never changed. And this is, of course, over the course of like 2 or 3 days, I watched this happen. And Bun was 100% exactly the same with both of these people. And I just thought that was the coolest shit in the world. And then when I got to meet him and talk to him and like interact with him every once in a while, like that's just like how he is all of the time. And it's incredible. That's why everybody loves him. Yeah. You can't find somebody to say a mean thing about Bun B.
Yeah. That's amazing. It just makes you love that person even more. Those kind of stories. I'm glad you shared that, man. I really am. Because when you listen to him and you think about the context, as you said earlier, about like how people were saying Southerners couldn't rap, and for him to just be like, I'm actually, because didn't they say that this was the first hip hop album on Pro Tools, and he was like, I'm not going to punch in my verse. There's no way I'm punching it. Like I'm going to tell you how good we are. And that one take masterpiece on Murder, which everyone, anyone who knows hip hop loves that verse. But there was moments in it where I didn't even know this till that he was hungover and was sleeping under the soundboard in the studio. Like what? He was even like that. And it's just, these kind of stories just make them even more gargantuan, if you know what I mean. But use of language again. What is it? I got jelly dripping from your belly. Like
jelly. Who's ever described blood as jelly?
You know who has?
Nobody.
Do you know who does it? Is when someone has seen so much blood that they liken it to a children's pudding. It's just nothing to me now. Jelly, it's so like minor to him, but to us, it's like, this is the hardest shit I've ever heard. So, oh man, just amazing. So I'm glad that we got to talk about Murder because it's just incredible. But I think one of my favorite Bun B bars, by the way, is I think it's on International. Yeah, it's on International, where he says, he chats up a girl and says to her, I'll make you the 8th wonder of the world.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, have you ever tried that? How can you get away with that? But he does. And he's like, I will make you the 8th wonder of the world. And just imagine trying that in a club. It's just incredible. But we've got to talk about Pimp C as well. And the genius of Pimp C. I know you've written as well about, can you tell that story again that Bun told where he like reconstructed a track over like 15 years or something from like memory?
Yeah. So Bun talked about that when he did the foreword for the book about how he watched Pimp C, again, one of the greatest producers ever. He just like, he makes the beat for Quit Hate in the South. And he produced it for the very first time in 1994 for the album Super Tight. It had the same title and everything. Like that's what the song was called. And he finished making it. And then he decided like, it's not time for this song to be out yet. And so he just like deleted it, like erased it. It was gone forever.
Wow.
7 years later, it's 2001. Now they're doing Dirty Money. And he like recreates the beat again, just from scratch, like do Quit Hate the South. And then he's like, sat with it for a bit and he was like, nope, it's still not time yet. And then went until 2007 when they did Underground Kings, which by that point, Houston had their big like breakout moment in 2004, 2005, when everything got pulled in their direction. And then Pimp C gets out of prison and then they make the Underground Kings album and he recreates the beat again for the third time. Again, he wasn't saving it. He would just make it. It's not yet. And then delete it. Like imagine writing a thesis paper and then being like, well, it's not due yet. I'll just delete it. And then you have to rewrite it again from scratch. Jeez. Like he does that 3 times. Like the kind of genius that you have to be able to do that. To not only to be able to like make the beat from scratch, but to know when it's time for it to come out. 2007, the album comes out and he's like, now it's time. Now it's time. This is 13 years after he made it for the first time. The third time that he had made it in general. But he makes it and they put it out. And then it was like here's our statement. Here's our big, Quit Hating the South. We're here now. And ever since then, the South has like run rap.
Yeah.
It just has. It's inarguable. It's inarguable from around that period of the mid 2000s, 2007 especially. We could say from the time they released International Players Anthem, from that moment forward, the South has just like run shit.
Yeah.
Run it.
Yeah.
Run it.
Could you
for a decade plus?
Could you break that down for me then? As in, like, what is it for you? Because I think you likened the South's emergence, like the way it became just the colossus it is. You like it to Batman and Bane. I think I remember reading. It was like, you know, they're used to the dark. I live in the dark, and you'd written about it like that, and I was like, oh, it's really interesting how the South came through because hip hop went that way as well, and it was ready. It was ready in New York, and the West weren't as ready. Do you remember that?
I don't remember writing that, but yeah, the like all of the music that has come out. I guess you can't say all of it, but a lot of the music, the majority of the music that has come out since around then has been wholly influenced by stuff that's come out of the South, within rap. Like pick an artist and you can like wiggle your way back to like somebody from the South. If you pick if you say like, I don't even know, if you say Young Thug, well, okay, here he's already from the South. Like, what are we talking about? Like, but his lineage, you can trace that back to like 2000 and whatever, Lil Wayne. But like, if you just pick any rapper you want, you can eventually be like, well, they did this, and that was influenced by this, and that was influenced by this, and now here we are back at the bottom of the map. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Like, I think 3 6 Mafia were huge for that well, not new now, but you know, that sound that came with the trap. And mind you, on Ridin Dirty, this trap beat, there is trap elements to all of it. And you just wasn't called that then. I don't know. There's the atmosphere and the drawl, everything, the way they deliver. Talking about Pimp C earlier, I was also like, when we saying he's a genius, and what you've said there qualifies that, but also he learnt piano by listening. Like, this is just, I mean, how good do you have to be? Like, that's so difficult. And I was just thinking, okay, here's one then. What are you good at, Shea, right, that everyone else finds difficult? What do you find, apart from writing?
There's nothing. And I'm not even that good at writing.
Oh, come on.
I got lucky. But yeah, I can't do anything as well as like Pimp C can do his fifth best thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's a different stratosphere. People who could do that sort of thing, you're not even allowed to like sit in the same building as they are, because they're just different. They're just plugged into the universe in a different way. I'm not that good at anything.
Okay, fair enough. And as I was like, we have another category which is like hidden gems, and I know you say this album is like perfect for you, but do you think there's any tracks that maybe deserve a bit more shine on this album, do you think?
The most underrated song on this album, I mean, we talked about Pinky Ring. Like, that would probably be my pick, because whenever people talk about this album, they always talk about One Day, because you have to, and they always talk about Murder. Those are the two songs that always pop up. And then other songs like 3 in the Morning, their lives got extended just through like Houston rap in general, because you had like all the stuff that DJ Screw was doing, where he was making use of, you know what I'm saying? Pinky Ring, for some reason, I think it's a perfect song, and it hasn't been as elevated as the other ones. But that's why when we started, I mentioned that 5-song stretch. Pinky Ring is right in there. I think it's fucking great. It's so good. It's so good.
It's one of the funkiest tracks ever. Just generally, period. It's just one of the funkiest. Yeah, it just is. 3 in the Morning, though, you mentioned, and there's moments, we talk about rewindable moments, like you have that Bun verse that's amazing, that's so rewindable on Pinky Ring, but there's a moment I always love now on this album, which is like the last 30-40 seconds on 3 in the Morning, because it goes from like the most, it is quite horrorcore, that track. Like, it's a little bit more like, oh, I can imagine Gravediggers like making stuff like this in the studio, to like, it goes from that, it just goes away, and then it goes into some lounge piano like instrumental where they just chat shit over it for 40 seconds, and it's perfect. It's how have you guys managed to marry that two things up and transport me to a world, you know, you've gone from, but I suppose that is their world as well. Like, they do talk about, you know, the absolute shit they have to deal with. But then there's a line where Pimp's like, just give me a truck and some weed and that's what makes me happy. And you're like, shit, like that's, so they tried to all marry up. So yeah, I had to give a shout out to 3 a.m. there. Absolutely. And the outro, that's another one. I don't know if it's because I'm old and my dad and I like my chilled outness a little bit more, but the outro is brilliant. It's so bluesy. It's like, this is a hip hop blues album, man. If you listen to it like fully, it's just, yeah, it's all there, man. So yeah, I had to shout those out. There was another thing. Everyone's been chatting about the Beatles doc, right? And the Get Back documentary. Everyone's talking about it, and it just had me think about hip hop. And I was like, look, wouldn't it be amazing if we had 8 hours on something? Would you take 8 hours? Of course you would, wouldn't you? But 8 hours on this album, on UGK, making this album.
Yeah, 100%. I would trade this in for the Get Back so fast, like immediately. It wouldn't even be a thing I had to think about.
Yeah.
Just like, I would trade 10 minutes.
Oh,
10 minutes. I would like to watch of just them together, putting something like collaborating on a perfect piece of art. Yeah, I want to watch that. The outro for this album is so great. It's such a perfect ender, because what ends up happening when you get to the end of a rap album is you either have to like find the perfect song to end it on, or you have to get out of some sort of way. And what they decide to do here is they're like, well, just fucking let the music play and let Pimp C talk. And that's what he does. And he's just shouting out people. And like, usually something like that lasts for, I don't know, a few, like 30 seconds or something.
Yeah.
A minute. Yeah. And then on this one, the outro is 9 minutes long. It's over 9 minutes long.
But it flies.
The song portion, and then he's just going. And so by like minute 3, you're in. You're like, fuck it, let's go. And then he's just any name he shouts out Shaquille O'Neal, like just everybody that's in there, and it's so great. It's so great. And if you have it like queued up to like repeat in your player that you choose, it goes straight from that back into the intro, which is Smoke D making a phone call, and then you're like, well, here we go again, and it just fits. It just fits.
Man, that's so true. And you talk about hardness of this album. They've got like, they jump off the album with an intro from a guy in jail, recording from jail. Like that's the hardest intro. Like if you're starting there, it's only gonna, do you know what I mean? And that's what I find is amazing. And I don't know if they meant it, put it in for humor, or if they went for both or whatever, but the realism of it was just amazing. But we talk about language again. Just one more thing I had to say. Again, song titles, Diamonds and Wood, right? In 3 words, you transport me from wherever I am in England in a little village to in the car with you, driving as your jewelry's on that, wooden, steering wheel, whatever, the imagery is it's just astounding. They can just be like, yeah, those 3 words will transport you there. And Illmatic needed songs, whereas this had just a few words and you're like, bang, you're there. So, yeah, just so many things to shout out this album. I love it. So you would take that. Here's one then. Is there any other moment in hip hop or like making of you'd want 8 hours of to watch? I would watch 8 hours of that.
I would watch the 8 hours of everybody making My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think that would be cool.
Yes.
And I would watch 8 hours. I would watch 8 hours of DMX making It's Dark and Hell is Hot.
God. Yeah.
I would watch 8 hours of Missy Elliott making Super Duper Fly. I would watch 8 hours of Snoop making Doggy Style.
Yeah.
I would watch 8 hours of Tupac making All Eyes on Me. The album itself is fucking 8 hours long already. Anyways, but yeah, there's a bunch of them. But there you go. That's my whatever that is, 5 or 6.
There you go, man. Damn, that's amazing. You mentioned Pac there, and I have to just go into like the heart of this album, and there's moments in it littered throughout all of it, from wiping away tears from your baby, like from your homeboy's mom and stuff like that. There's all these little lyrics that when I hear them, I can't help but think that's what, because Pac apparently loved this album. He was showing it by Scarface and stuff, and you think I can see why that resonated with Pac. I can see it. A lot of it reminds me of Thug Life, that Thug Life album that he brought out, which was like so mournful at times and so sorrowful. You have that in this. You've done it in your books before where you talk about what if moments. And I was just like, if I could play a little game with you of what if moments. So if you're up for it, I was thinking, what if Pac had survived and he'd worked with UGK and Outkast at that time he wanted to work with them? What if that had happened? What do you think? Where would you take that thread?
Oh, shoot. I mean, it's going to be good, whatever it is. What I would be most interested in seeing is who's going to rub off more on who once they're in there together. If we're talking about Outkast, or if we're talking about Outkast or UGK. Let's say we'll do UGK, and you get somebody as big of a personality as Tupac in the studio with somebody as big of a personality as Pimp C, which oftentimes it's not that. Oftentimes it's one or the other. Like when you had Puff and Big together, Puff was the big personality. Big was sort of, I'll sit in the background and like, I'll be the talent part of this relationship. When you had like Dr. Dre and Snoop or whatever, Snoop was the big personality. Dr. Dre was like, I'll be in the background. It was all oftentimes you like your best duos, one big, one loud, and the other not that. But if you have both Tupac and Pimp C together, I think it's like if you fucking mushed two suns together. Like what happens in that moment? I have no idea, but I would love to see it. I would love to see it.
Love that. There's one that is possibly one of my go-to things is because again, I've been a fan for a while. Rap Yearbook, you have one line where it just says, "What if Suge Knight was 2 feet shorter?" And I just thought, just genetics.
All of rap looks different. All of rap looks different. If he's 2 feet shorter, he's not Suge Knight. He's just the guy at the gym, the little guy at the gym, fucking throwing up 320 pounds on the bench press. Right. And that's it. That's all he is.
I don't think there'd be death row. I genuinely think through genetics and through, I don't think there would be a death row. Or it would just be completely different. So that's what I loved.
It would be so different. It would be so different. I forgot I wrote that. That's funny.
No, oh man, it's one of my favorites. One of my go-tos. What if Pac had played Sharif in Menace to Society? What if he'd got that role and done it? Would it make any difference?
He would have been good at it. He's clearly a great actor. But I don't think. I think that's one of the movies where it's like it's okay that he didn't get that one because it turned out great. Otherwise, he was also supposed to play Baby Boy, the Tyrese's character in the movie Baby Boy. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I would like to have seen that one. Tyrese did great. He's perfect in that movie. I would like to see Tupac have taken a swing at that one. Because if you watch him in Juice, it's like, God dang. You can't watch that performance and not feel like this guy would have at some point won an Oscar.
Yeah.
For what he's able to do,
all in the eyes, man. Just his eyes in that film.
Yeah.
Just right behind them pupils. It's amazing. I've got a few more here. What if Kanye went into filmmaking? Because Kanye could have done that. Like he had the music videos. If he'd have made a film,
I mean, he made one for Runaway.
Well, he did pretty much half hour long.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah,
it was kind of fun. I don't know that I want to watch a Kanye West movie. I mean, I would watch it now because of who he is and rap, but I don't know. No. That seems like wouldn't work out as good as music did.
Okay.
For him.
Right. Okay. That's okay. That's all good. And another one here, XXL, that famous cover, 99, of Murder Inc., of DMX, Jay-Z, and Ja Rule. What if they'd actually made an album together?
Oh, I don't think it would have been good.
No,
I don't think so. I think Jay-Z and Ja were just. It seems like they should fit together, but then you put them together and they don't fit. And I don't know like what the proper term is for that. There's got to be a word for that. What that is, but no, those two. It just feels like they're close, but not the same.
Yeah.
Like if you like when two words look the same, but they have way different meanings.
Yeah.
That's what Jay-Z and Ja Rule feel like.
Right.
Just wouldn't have fit.
Okay. Great. Love that. another little category before we dive into the book and a bit more on that. It has been called Only Built for Tenuous Links, but I'm also trying to, it's how deep is your love for this album? So I just want to test a little bit, right, of how deep your love for Ridin Dirty is. Okay. So forgive me if my NBA knowledge isn't up to standard on this one, right? But I know you're a big Spurs fan. And in 1996, this album drops. In 1996, you just got rid of Rodman in 95. But in 96, you lost the Western Conference semis, right? To the Jazz, right? And would you have not taken this album, but Spurs go on to face Bulls in the finals?
Oh, no, I wouldn't trade that. That's such an easy question because we got 5 championships. Oh,
right. Yeah. Okay. But in 1996, you're in 96 now. You're 1996 Shea. And someone says to you, not only do you get to the finals with Bulls, you win the finals. And there's this other album here called Ridin Dirty. Which one do you want? In 96, which one you'd have picked?
Oh, in 96, I would have taken the Spurs for sure.
Right.
But if I have to go back now, if I could go back to 1996 Shea, I'd be like, don't fucking do it, dude. There's going to be this guy, his name's Tim Duncan. He's going to show up. It's going to work out great. Don't do it. And you're going to want this album.
Okay. Right. Tim Duncan's going to turn up. Brilliant. Right. So we're going to go a little bit of film, right? I know you're a big fan of films. Now, I looked at the highest grossing films of 96. You have to get rid of 4 of these, right? Out of the top 5. Or we keep Ridin Dirty, right? So the top 5 are Independence Day, Twister, Mission Impossible, The Rock, and Ransom. Now, would you get rid of 4 of them and keep Ridin Dirty?
So are we talking again? Are we talking about? I'm picking this right now.
Yeah,
so
this one you're picking now. Yeah.
You're going to press a button and these foreign movies are just going to be gone from history. Nobody will even know that they ever existed.
Yeah.
It'll be that. It'll be like that Beatles movie.
Oh yeah.
When the guy just like,
yeah.
I'll be the only one that knows about them.
Yeah.
And I won't be able to talk. And so, yeah, I would trade 4 of those. What was the list again? Independence
Day, Twister.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible, The Rock, Ransom. Which 4? Which 4 are you getting rid of?
I would get rid of Ransom. That's a stupid movie.
It is.
And Mel Gibson is like fucking Mel Gibson. Yeah, get him out of here. That's Mel fine.
Gibson, yeah.
I would probably get rid of out of those ones. So out of those remaining 4, Twister. I just get to keep one of them.
The Rock. I mean, come on, don't do that to Cage.
I would probably keep The Rock. I'd probably keep The Rock and get rid of the other ones.
So no more Mission Impossible.
I love a young Will Smith. I'm fine with losing the first Mission Impossible because I still have 7 other ones that I can watch.
Would they have made them? Bang.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's probably still
for sure.
Tom Cruise still would
have. For sure. even if they started with Mission Impossible 2, which was terrible, and made enough money, they would have just kept on cranking them out. Tom Cruise would have made sure they made them.
I always liked number 2 because of Woo. And it was like, it's Woo, isn't it? It's just like he's on that cliff and everything in the intro. And I went to the cinema to watch that.
The intro's great.
Yeah, it's the best part of the film. It's the best part.
But after that, it's like, whoosh.
Okay.
No, thanks.
Here's one which I already know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Van Damme, I'm sure you know this, made his directorial debut in 1996 with Roger Moore in a film called The Quest. Would you have taken 10 years of Van Damme action movies, 10 years stretch? The Quest turns out to be amazing. He turns out to be the next best action director, or no Ridin Dirty? Which one are you going for?
Oh, I got to keep Ridin Dirty because again, this is like the Spurs one. We already have the Jean-Claude Van Damme action movies that rule. We have Bloodsport and we have Kickboxer.
Yeah.
And we have Universal Soldier and we have Lionheart and we have enough of them. The Quest was fucking awful. Yeah. The Quest was so bad. The Quest was he was like, hey, remember Bloodsport? Let's run it back. Yeah. They just did this. They just did the same thing. There's a fucking there's a hot air balloon or a blimp, no, hot air balloon.
Yeah.
Like it's not great. It's a bad movie. I'm fine with we.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shea's ripping this category to shreds, basically. It's not going to live after this category. It's done. But we're going to go to Grammys. Grammys, last category bit, all right? Grammys. You can only keep 2 of these, right? Or no Ridin Dirty. Best rap albums. These are the categories. These are the nominations. Poverty's Paradise, Naughty by Nature. E99 Eternal, Bone Thugs. Return to the 36 Chambers, the Dirty version, ODB. I Wish by Skilo and Me Against the World by Pac. You can only keep 2 of them and you get to keep Ridin Dirty, or do you need to keep 3?
No, as long as I get to keep Ridin Dirty out of that list that you gave me, all I need is Bone, East 1999 Eternal. I'll take those 2 over all the rest of them.
Wow.
That's fine.
Okay.
I fucking love that album. That's so good.
It is good. It is.
We'll talk about that album next time.
Yeah, why not, man? Why not? Let's do it, man. Well, there you go. Shay's absolutely murdered our category, which actually doesn't make any sense now. Now I'm reading it back. That doesn't make any sense. Of course you'd keep riding. Of course you'd keep Ridin Dirty. But I want to go into your book now, man, and hip hop and other things, movies and other things. The rap yearbook. I'm sure people listening have gone into these. It's out now. I want to give people a bit of a flavour of what if you haven't checked out Shay's writing, what it is actually about. And there's no better way to do this than just read out some of the chapter titles. So you've gone with which line on Illmatic is the most Narsian, which is great. Like, I've not even read these chapters. I'm waiting for Christmas to sit back with a whiskey and to properly get into these chapters, right? So what's the best minute of the Black Thought freestyle? What a brilliant chapter name. What's Lauryn Hill's career shooting percentage? And what I need to touch on with you is, man, Dark Twisted Fantasy versus Good Kid, Mad City, right? Mm-hmm. These are the titles. This is the flavor you're bringing. I want to know, basically for you now it's out. How are you feeling it's out? Is it like a weight lifted, or are you on to the next project already? Are you like, damn, I've got to do something else now? Or are you just chilling?
Right now, I'm just chilling. The book came out in October. I usually, anytime that I have a book that comes out, because it takes like 18 months of working on the book. And then you have a couple of months of just like dead air before it comes out. And then it finally comes out. And then it's crazy. But then by like, this came out at the end of October. So by like the end of November, things had settled down. And right now I'm just like, I'm in relaxation mode up until whenever I start whatever the next thing is that I end up doing. I have no idea what that is yet. I'll figure it out next year. But from now to then, I'm just going to fucking do nothing. I'm going to watch Survivor on Amazon.
I love that. But this is it. This is do you know, it's just beautiful to see a person's, I've liked your writing since Grantland, and I'd love to touch a bit about Grantland. And I remember discovering you there and thinking, wow, this writer is you give me a fresh perspective of something. You can read about Illmatic your whole life, but just the chapter title there about what's the most Nas, no one's ever, that's a conversation in a pub over here. That's a conversation you'd have after a few pints and you'd be like, what is the most Narsian line? That kind of thing. And so I just wanted to big you up on that and the spaces you're kind of occupying now, which is like, obviously podcasts, you've been doing it for a while, but no skips. Congrats on that. What are you finding excited about that space, man? Like doing podcasting. How's that good? How's that different for you compared to like your usual writing gigs?
It's not too different because prior to recording any of the episodes, I go through the same sort of, research setup that I would if I was writing about whatever it is we're talking about. In this case, each episode, we talk about a different album. So like the one that comes out this week, or I don't know when this episode will be out, but the one that comes out on Thursday in our recording time will be Biggie's Ready to Die. Oh. So, so I had spent like a bunch of time just with the album and taking notes and like constructing arguments and filling out information. The main difference is that I'm talking about it with somebody in real time. With a book, I like write a thing and then nobody sees it for a long time. Long time. The chapter that you talked about, the Kanye and Kendrick chapter in hip hop and other things, I wrote that chapter and then like nobody talked to me about it for like 2 years because that's how long it took for the book to come out or whatever. Wow. In the case of the podcasts, I take my notes and then I like that day I get to sit there and talk with somebody, talk with Brandon in this case, about the album. That's the main way it's different. You have a little more freedom with the podcast stuff. You can sort of go as long as you want. You don't have to worry about a word limit.
Yeah.
You also don't have to worry too much about like when if I record a podcast on Thursday of this week, it'll come out the Thursday of next week. So a week later, I don't really have to worry too much about something sort of timing out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like language wise, when I'm writing a book, I can't use like whatever the popular language is or the funny thing is that people are saying right now, because it's going to be stale by the time it gets on the book. So I have to be much more cognizant of that. But essentially you're exercising the same sort of muscles, just in a little different way.
But so what is it then? You know, Grantland, we talked about that. People haven't checked. I'm sure the stuff probably is still up somewhere. Grantland, what do you miss about Grantland, and what was so special about Grantland to you when you were there?
For me, what was special about it was the first place where they gave me they paid real actual money for you to just like write about the cool shit that you wanted to write about. The one big difference there for me, I remember, was like I got there and I never one time had a conversation with anybody about like website traffic, where they're like, that was never a concern. Is the thing that you're going to write, will it generate enough clicks for us to justify writing about it? That was never a thing that happened. They were just straight up like, write about the stuff you want to write about and we'll take care of all of the rest.
Amazing.
And I thought that was super cool. And then that's like a thing that carried over into the Ringer when they started up the Ringer, the same sort of thing. I remember that a lot. And then I remember showing up there and being like, oh fuck, like this is a real roster of murderous writers. It was like Wesley Morris and Molly Lambert and Rembert Brown and Emily Yoshida and Sean Fennessy and Chris Ryan. And there was like every single person who was sitting in a meeting, I felt like was better than me. Like it was like, you know, it's like you got drafted by the fucking 73 win Warriors and you're just sitting on the bench like, oh shit, how do I keep up with this? That was a very real feeling I had the first couple of times that I hung out there. That's probably what I remember the most, or when I think back on it, that's what I remember the most fondly. It's just having that feeling of being like, that's Zach Lowe. Oh shit, sitting across from me at this table. I have to pitch ideas after Zach Lowe pitches ideas. Is so stupid.
But so as a creative then, as someone who's working in the industry, I'm sure there's loads of people, especially younger people who listen to this podcast, you know, how do you just power through? Do you believe in yourself? Do you lean on your fam? Do you lean on other peers? Like, how did you power through to get to, well, actually, no, did you ended up feeling like you deserved that seat at the table, right? At some point.
Not during my time at Grantland.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Maybe when the rap yearbook came out, and so 2015, when that book made the bestseller list, I remember that this guy from GQ wrote an article that said Grantland's Shea Serrano makes New York Times bestseller list, or something like a version of that was the title of the article. And that was the very first time I remember reading it and feeling like I was at that moment contributing to the prestige of Grantland versus me benefiting from the prestige of Grantland. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was maybe around then, but by that point, Bill was already gone. Sean, Chris, Mallory, Juliet, they were already gone. It was like we were at the end of that run. Shortly thereafter, like literally 2 weeks thereafter, that happened, Grantland shut down. And that was the end of it. So it was like a very small window where I felt like, oh, I kind of belong here. And then it got taken away real quick.
Damn. Oh my God. But I hope anyone listening, that just shows, you can get through this stuff and build and build and build. It's just the adversity can be like, it's about the album, right? There's adversity and people just like kind of, you have to get through it and power through it. And yeah, I just thought it's just fascinating you say it like that. There's moments then all over your work you've done. You touch on 90s. This is a 90s podcast. So I need to talk to you a little bit about 90s hip hop, right? My first question was, obviously being a massive fan of The Office, Who for you, if you can think of it, is the Michael Scott of 90s hip hop?
The Michael Scott of 1990s.
If there is one.
I have no idea how to answer that question. There's probably not, because for it to be the 1990s Michael Scott of rap, you need somebody who was like completely unaware of who they are as a person, and completely not cool, and completely not understanding the joke of the moment, or the like temperature of the moment. And all of my favorite rappers from the 90s were like the opposite of that. They were 100% in the complete opposite direction of who Michael Scott was on The Office.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
So take that. That's my answer.
Batted it right back out of the park. Love it. Okay, that's all good. That ball's fucked off. We're not going to get that back, so it's all good. But right, okay then. That's cool. Let's go into Wu, right? Little category we've got here. Wu-Tang bangers. We talk about Wu-Tang bangers. But I want to talk to you about Ghostface, right? We have a Ghostface series and we talk about Ghost every solo album he's done, right? If you had to, you have to have any piece of Ghostface swag. So it can be the eagle on the arm. It can be the man glow.
That's the one.
Are you taking that one?
I'm taking the eagle. I'm taking the eagle so fast.
There was the ice cream cone, the mask, nothing, just the eagle. Okay.
The mask is second place. When we did the book, Ghostface is one of my favorites too. Like, in part because of the like iconography of like his look.
Yes.
And so I was like, we gotta have him in there. So we had Ghostface with the mask and the big eagle bracelet and everything. But the bracelet is fucking top level rap memorabilia. It's got to be worth millions of dollars.
It has to
just
be.
Like, from a nostalgia standpoint.
It has to be. So you have it now. It's in your possession, Shea. You have to wear it to A, a wedding, B, a funeral, C, a job interview. Which one are you, or all of them?
I would never take it off. I would be wearing it right now. It's fucking incredible. It's a giant eagle. Who has done that? Like, who has done that since then?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right. We need more of it. I think
we need more of it. Where did it go? It was such a good idea.
Yeah.
Establish a base and then put whatever you want on the base. Whatever you want.
I always love the man.
It's like a hood ornament.
It is. It's like, I always love the man carrying the earth. Like Atlas.
Yeah.
Like the whole, that was like, come on. But you're right. Slick Rick, all that started it. They amplified it. Where's the next one? I'm waiting. I'm with you. Okay, cool. So another one then. 3 album runs. We talk about 3 album runs. As I say 3 album runs to you, are there any that you think of immediately where you're like, yeah, they're the best 3 album runs?
You probably have to have, you can put UGK in there.
So you're going with Super Tight, or are you going the other way?
No, you could probably go, I think it's interesting to go Too Hard to Swallow, then Super Tight, then Ridin Dirty. I think that's a fun one, because I remember Bun said at one point that Ridin Dirty was like the first fully cohesive thought that UGK put out. Like the 2 albums before then weren't that. Ridin Dirty is when they arrived at that. So I like picking that 3 album run to watch the progression of them like working their way toward this perfect moment. I think that's it's like a trilogy, right? And you're building toward the big finale. There's that part of it, but there's also like the imagery of it is cool as well, because it's all like on the Too Hard to Swallow cover, you have Bun, he's like squatted down and Pimp C is standing over him. Yeah. And if you like follow what happens there, so in that case, Bun is low, Pimp is high. On the next one, on Super Tight, they're both equal heights. And then on Ridin Dirty, now Bun is in the forefront and Pimp C is in the background. And I think that's like a cool bit of imagery that speaks to the way that Bun sort of arrived to Ridin Dirty as like, okay, I'm the face now. I'm the best rapper now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that's fun. But that's brilliant. You are like, you also probably you can put Kanye in there. And you can grab really you can go I would go at Graduation, 808s, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Okay. If you like need a stretch of 3,
right?
I think that like that's a perfect one. You can grab Missy Elliott.
I like
you can
that
grab
one.
a 3-album stretch from her. Like those are probably.
We think
yeah, I'm gonna go with those 3. Tribe works too. Tribe works too.
Are you more Midnight Marauders or more Low End Theory?
Low End Theory.
That's why we get on.
Yeah.
This is why I love you, Shea.
Yeah.
This is why I love you. Because if it was Midnight Marauders, it'd just be a cancellation of this. There'd be no more feed. It'd just be ended.
Midnight Marauders is great.
No,
it's great. But if you got to pick one,
yeah,
Low End Theory for me is just a beautiful album.
Yes,
it's so good.
Absolutely. Well, man, that was beautiful. Thank you. They were kind of the ones that I had as well. And you, by the way, big up Dart Adams, because you put Dart Adams onto the book as well. And as a fact checker, when he came on and did Gangstar, and he absolutely smashed that out of the park.
Oh, Dart is incredible. I had so much fun working with Dart because he just knows everything. You sit down to write a book and you're like, I know a lot about rap. And then you talk to Dart Adams and you're like, I don't know anything about anything because he just fucking. I don't know how his brain does what it does, but it's just, it didn't. And so he was the fact checker for the book and the researcher for the book. And it didn't matter when I email him at 3:45 in the morning. Hey, I don't know how to, I can't find this. And he emails me back at 3:52 in the morning with like a picture of the actual thing that I need because he has it in his own personal archive. It was incredible. Yeah. He was so good.
I know. I call him the hip hop matrix. It's like every time he jumps on, it's like it's just
that's a great name.
The world through, like, you know, here's the hip hop matrix. Here he is. He just navigates it all for you, and he never sleeps. Like I'm on Twitter DMing him about some album or something. I'm like you know, I just give him a Dart. Do you know this? And he's like, I'm awake. Do you ever sleep? He's like, well, there's writing
Always.
to be done. There's research to be done. So yeah, I love the fact that you got him on the book.
I remember before I worked with him. I was following him on Twitter already, and I would see him post like a picture and he would have like 2 laptops and a TV going and like, he's like, and a bunch of stuff spread out. And he's like, this is me doing my work. And I was like, that's just fucking, you're just taking a picture and putting that up there. You're not really doing all this. And then I got to working with him and I was like, oh shit, he's really doing all of this all of the time. It's unreal.
Yeah. Well, I admire all of you for doing all this unreal work, all of you together. It's great to see collaborations like that as well. But thank you for jumping on, Shea. It's just been an absolute honor. This has flown. I'm sorry for taking up more time than I should have. But man, it's a beautiful thing. You keep smashing it. Last question then I have to ask you before you go.
All right.
What is the last great piece of music you heard? Could be old, could be new, just the last great piece you heard.
You know what I listened to on the way to work today? There's a group out of Houston called the Chop Stars. It's this coalition of DJs run by OG Ron C.
Right.
He's like the extension of DJ Screw. They make chopped, not slopped albums. So DJ Screw made chopped and screwed albums. And then he passed and OG Ron C sort of took up the mantle and has done like a modernized version of that ever since then. And so they make chopped and screwed tapes, but they're called Chop Not Slop. And they're beautiful tapes. They're really, really good at it. And the one I was listening to this morning, because it's that sort of music to me is really good to listen to early in the morning or like late at night, because everything is slowed down and it just sort of flows.
Yeah.
But I was listening to they made a Chop Not Slop version of the Silk Sonic tape with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. And it's so good. It's so good. I just keep listening to it every morning on the way to work. And late at night, like at 1 a.m, I'll just put it on and sit there with my headphones. That's going to be my answer here. It's the last great thing I listened to because I listened to it a few hours ago. That's
heavy. I love that. Brilliant. I'm going to have to check that out. That sounds amazing. But wicked. Thank you, Shea. I appreciate that, man. Big up to yourself. Much love to the fam. And man, just keep smashing it. Doors are open if you ever want to jump back on. We can talk about hip hop anytime, man.
I'm in. Let's do it.